On this screencast, I want to go over authentication and authorization. Authentication is the process of establishing who it is who's visiting BowFolios, and authorization is the process of deciding whether or not once you know who someone is, or if you know who someone is whether or not they're allowed to visit a particular page. So for authentication, there's a lot of different authentication mechanisms out there. We're going to use something called CAS. And in particular, we're going to use the CAS server supported by the University of Hawaii so we can get access to people with UH accounts. And then in particular, we're going to use the test CAS server provided by UH, which is one that doesn't allow us to actually have to set anything up with UH and provide them the URL of our service in order to get going. That's the good side of using the test server. The other side of it is that it doesn't have all of the UH accounts in it, so sometimes you have to talk with them first if you're doing development and make sure that they add your account, for example, to the testcast server. There is a sample system, Meteor example UHCast, you can look at to get more details. I'll just kind of try to go through the code relatively quickly. The first thing is that you have to tell Meteor, your app, like which CAS server we're using, and that's the function of this stuff here. That's kind of like boilerplate. And then in our landing page, let's see, in the layout, no, not in the layout, in the landing page right here, you're going to see that we have some buttons here. So here's a call to the CAS login template on our landing page, and that template is defined in the component landing directory. So here's what that looks like. Basically, it's just a button, and it's associated with a class. We define CAS login, CAS logout, which is observed by these events associated with this template. So it's looking for a click on the button that has the CAS logout or CAS login classes associated with it. In the event that it's a CAS logout event, it just calls Meteor logout. In the event that it's a CAS login event, then we create this little callback guy here just so that we get an error printed to the console if things mess up. Then we call login with CAS, and this call is what's going to basically result in that window popping up on the screen where you type in your UH credentials and then what's passed back to our system. We never see the passwords that are typed in. All that we get back when things are done is the username of the authenticated user. So at that point, like for me, we'd know it was Johnson that's actually gone through this login process. So at that point, we have a callback that we attach to the onLogin event. Okay, so you're on the landing page, you've typed this stuff in, CAS has authenticated me as Johnson. Well, what do I want to do next? Well, what I'd like to do next is go to my actual profile page, right? And so how do we do that? Well, this is the code that accomplishes that. It's a callback that's passed to this onLogin method of the accounts package, and it runs when someone logs in. Okay, and you can read through this. There's a little bit of funkiness associated with this idea, but basically what we're going to do is we're going to check to see that we have a user, because this .userid will be defined, and that we're currently on the landing page, and we can do that by looking at the flow router value. And we'll say you're doing initial login if user ID is defined and you're on the landing page. So if we're doing initial login, then we can extract the username that was returned from CAS and give it to Meteor through obtaining the user document and then going to the profile field of that document and then getting the name value. That's just where it's stored by CAS for reasons I don't really understand, but that's the way the CAS package does it. Then we basically, once we have that, we just do a flow router go to the URL that's /Johnson or /whoever /profile. On logout, then we just go back to the landing page. So when you click the logout button, then that's how that action actually occurs. So that's the authentication part of things, I think, pretty much. Now there's the authorization aspect of it. Authorization has to do with, can you see a particular page? And the way BowFolios is defined, there's two pages that everybody can see. That's the landing and the directory page, and they're kind of at top level. So you can go /landing, /directory. You can see those pages, no problem. On the other hand, there's two other pages that require authorization. You must be both logged in, i.e. you're authenticated so we know who you are, and to see a particular page like localhost :3000 Johnson/profile, you actually have to be the user Johnson. If that wasn't checked, then after logging in, I could just type in like Scott PR/profile and all of a sudden be seen and maybe potentially altering Scott's profile. That would be totally bogus. So the way we do things is we say that if you want to retrieve a URL like /Johnson/profile, you actually have to be the user Johnson. Same thing for the filter one. Okay, so we do this using what's called template-based authorization. It's not as complicated as it seems. What's going to happen is in our user layout area, I've defined two templates. One called if authorized, or defined a template, which has an HTML file that basically is going to say, you know, if this if is authorized returns true, then the surrounding template will be actually executed or displayed. Otherwise, we'll get this div that says you're not authorized to use it, and then the JavaScript associator, you can see the is authorized says if you're not logged in, you're not authorized. And then if you are logged in, I'm going to get the username part of the URL from FlowRouter, and then I'm going to check that against your username, and I'm going to make sure that those things are equal. And if they aren't equal, then it returns false and you can't see the page. And then if we go look at user layout.html, you can see that the layout wraps the header and whatever template, whatever page we're actually displaying in this if authorized block. Okay, so both our directory and our filter, sorry, not the directory page, but the filter page and the user profile page, it doesn't have to worry about authentication or authorization at all because they use this user layout. All users, every user level page requires this authorization process to be true, and so it's very convenient. Does that make sense? I hope so. And there you have it, authorization and authentication.